Guys, this is Joe just popping in to ask if you've signed up for your free marketing consultation with MDT Marketing yet. If you haven't, head to mdtmarketing.com/edup, submit your information, get your free consultation today. Don't do it alone. Find the right partner. Welcome back, everybody. This is the EdUp Experience podcast where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio here with you again. But I feel like with our guest today, we are going to have plenty to talk about because what he's doing and the company he's leading is unique, to say the least, I would say. And so I've got a lot of questions. He's prepared. He's well prepared. He is looking good. His hair is combed. He's got a button-down shirt on. He's got boats, pictures of boats all over his room, and hint on what we might be talking about today. But his name is Scott Marshall, and he is president and CEO of Semester at Sea.
Scott, crowd goes wild, Joe. The crowd went wild.
It's uncontainable. The crowd is just it's insane. They're just throwing beers everywhere, and it's going crazy. How are you?
I'm doing great. The first thing I have to say though is we use a ship, not a boat.
Well, yes. Okay. I stand corrected. This is my failure button here. Yep. So I missed that one. But you're going to clarify exactly what you mean. Are you not, Scott Marshall? You are president and CEO of Semester at Sea. Although it sounds like if you work in higher education, you might be able to understand mostly about what that is. I bet not all of us, including myself, I've worked in higher ed for 20 years, fully understand what Semester at Sea does and how you do it and how it works. So tell us about Semester at Sea and we'll go from there.
I'm thrilled to do so, Joe, because it's something that I deeply believe in terms of its impact on the students who participate. Interestingly enough, this program in its origination goes back to 1963, Chapman University, in a program called Class Afloat.
And Chapman University, the one out here in California? Chapman
That's
University?
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly right. And it evolved into its current brand name, Semester at Sea, not long after that, and has been at a number of university partners over its 50 plus year history with the same core mission around connecting students to the world and really bringing a raised awareness and empathy for the world and ensuring that our students that leave our voyages understand their role in the world. And I can get into that in more detail, but what is Semester at Sea as a program? We are currently affiliated with Colorado State University. So we offer upwards of 70 sections of courses on our voyage. All of those courses are Colorado State University courses. We carry up to 600 students per voyage on our ship, not our boat. And just so you know,
thanks for throwing that in, by the way.
I had to learn that as well. And very simply, I was taught ships carry boats. I was like, okay, I got it.
Got it.
Yes. So we run 2 voyages per year, fall and spring, and each voyage is about 105 days, goes to 8 to 10 countries. Over that 105 days, about 50% of the time is on the ship. The other percent is in country. Our students are taking 4 classes and the ship has classrooms. So they're with faculty on the ship. And then they get into these countries and they can either do a required field class one day. They can do some of the field programs we design and deliver, or they can explore on their own. And it is probably, in my biased opinion, clearly, one of the most impactful experiences a student can have. Now, that's my opinion, which has been enforced over and over and over by our alumni, who tell us that this was the best experience of their college career, having a lifelong impact on their life and their careers.
I mean, hopefully it's not hard to believe, right? Yeah, it's not hard to believe that it's not hard to believe that a student would go, that was the most amazing experience of my life. I can imagine doing that myself and going, that was the most amazing experience of my life, right? Visiting different countries, being with how many students on the ship? as it were, each time you embark.
Yeah,
Is
if you
embark the right
include,
word? Am I using the right words?
you got it, man. You
All
got
right.
it. We're a voyage, and we use a ship. They stay in cabins on different decks. It's all the lingo that we have. So we have between 500 and 600 college students, but that also includes gap year students and some post-grad students. So we really bound it more from the ages of 17 to 23 or 24 in terms of who our primary audience is. We also have lifelong learners who are folks like yourself, Joe, who decide that, hey, it's time to take a little trip away, pack up the family, and get on the ship and audit some courses, be part of the shipboard community, go into the countries with the students. On the ship, you eat with the students. It's an amazing community in terms of our lifelong learners as well. So yeah, but for that core audience, those students, it's really between 500 and 600 gap, college, and post-grad students.
So talk to me about the gap year student here. This is a fascinating piece. So this is a student that says what? They say, I need to take a break. I'm just going to take a trip. Are they taking classes, or they're just really taking a break and they're traveling around? They're traveling around and enjoying life amongst the college experience. So you're kind of retaining this student you're retaining them. They're around college, but they're not actually taking courses. Tell me more about that. That's a big assumption I'm making in a number of ways. Just waiting for you to correct me on which one was right there.
That's okay. So gap year really goes back to this idea that someone may not be ready for college and they want to do something that enriches their life and clarifies their purpose. I mean, those are my terms, but generally that's what it is. And it's usually between high school and college. So they want to put back college for a year. And its history is more non-credit based. They go overseas, they do some service work, they might get a job, whatever it is, they do an internship somewhere, but it's been non-credit. However, particularly over the last decade, there have been programs like ours who began to offer it as credit-based and getting the sense of college. What is college without fully immersing in and committing to a particular institution? And what we've designed is a very particular gap year program where they do take credits. They can take 9 or 12. We oftentimes advise them just to take 9 credits, or actually it's 10 because there's an extra gap year 1 credit seminar. And we really bring those gap year students together as the younger group, create a cohort, have programming together so that they really connect to each other and then reach out and connect to the broader shipboard community. And again, it's a way for someone who just isn't of the mind, I'm ready to go to this institution. I'm committed to the next 4 or 5 years. I know what I'm going to major. They want something more immediately impactful and clarifying for what they hope to pursue in the future. And it's a wonderful thing to see what happens to that group of students.
Kind of a moving dorm with virtual classrooms, and that's cool. So talk to me about COVID and COVID safety. I mean, I think it's one thing when you're a student in your home and your university says, come on back to our classrooms. We think we can, manage the risk of COVID and Delta variant and all this stuff. And I know a whole nother thing when you're visiting different countries, have people on and off a ship with 500 or more people. So that has to be a lot of pressure for you guys to say, okay, we're gonna handle this. Here's our safety protocols. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's how we're gonna do it. So you must have a huge investment in that, right? Because I'm guessing as a parent going, hey, what does the safety look like for my kid there? How are you going to ensure that when they get off in, I don't know, the Philippines, that they're not going to get coronavirus and bring it back amongst the shipmates and so on and so on. Talk to me about that and how you guys have gone through that cycle of COVID and management and so on. And the second part of that question is, how are students looking at semester at sea now that we're, I don't know, I would say more on the downside, but kind of in the variability of variance, if you will? Or are they excited about saying, hey, I got to get out of here? Or is there still some nerves?
So this absolutely is a huge issue for us. You're spot on. If I could, let me go back to spring 20, when we had a voyage underway and we were crossing the Pacific, and there had not been clarity at all about what was going to unfold the next year and a half, 2 years. But we had heard about some pneumonia case outbreak in a province in China. We need to keep our eye on it. We landed the ship in Kobe, Japan. Students got off. We learned more. Still is not declared as a global pandemic. Still isn't clear exactly what this is, but we made the decision, because health and safety is absolutely our top priority, to not go to our next port, which was to be Shanghai. Take our students to Vietnam and extend the stay there. Long story short, we conducted that voyage up until late March, when we had to call it off. And we called it early. Everybody disembarked in Cape Town, South Africa. They got home, not a single case of COVID. Now, probably in there is some luck, but I would say that fundamentally the reason that happened is because we hold true to what we say in terms of the health and safety of our voyagers. That is always top priority. So to your question about what does that mean? Well, we've canceled 3 voyages in a row. It was not feasible to do what we do. We are conducting the spring 22 voyage. As you said, it's on the downside, but there's still some variance with the variance. There's still some dynamics that we have to be really thoughtful about. So in February of this year, before any other study abroad organization, actually before any institution, we said 100% vaccination on the voyage.
Right.
That means every student, every lifelong learner, every faculty, every staff, and every crew member will be vaccinated. Right there is a baseline. So one challenge we have had in the US and abroad is the percentage of people who is vaccinated. And we know, unfortunately, that the outbreaks have mostly been significant in areas where the vaccination rates are relatively lower. If you start an experience with everybody 100% vaccinated as your baseline, you've already minimized, not eliminated, but minimized for sure,
greatly minimized
the possibility of an outbreak. Again, 100% vaccinated. Second, absolutely we'll have rapid antigen testing, excuse me, rapid antigen testing, and if positive, a follow-up PCR test. So we have the testing capacity on the ship, as our port agents in each port also have testing capacities. And third, we have a whole quarantine isolation procedure in place and the insurance to cover it. So to your question, and I think it's the most important question we have sought to answer and have answered, is around health and safety. The other part of this now is there is no 100% guarantee about anything. People can get the flu, they can get other illnesses. But what we've done is absolutely minimize the potential and then have a process in place for dealing with it if it happens. And if I could add one last point here, and that is, we know we need to ensure academic continuation in the remote chance a student tests positive. And we've significantly invested in onboard technology that allows live stream and video cast of lectures. So in the unfortunate and very unlikely case that someone gets infected, they have to be in a cabin, we can continue to deliver the content until they test negative and can reemerge into the community. So I believe we've really been proactive here and we're ready to roll. Your second question was about the demand. So you're absolutely right. People want to get out of Dodge, right? They're ready for an adventure. And so we have right now over 600 deposits. Now, some of that will likely decrease simply because we're approaching course registration, financial aid, all these key decisions. That always leads to a bit of attrition. But we're set to sail. We'll sail for sure with more than 500, maybe more than 530 students. We'll sail with 25 to 30 lifelong learners. And it will be different because the world's different. But at the core, we'll be achieving our mission, which is comparative experiential international education.
If you're experiencing any level of marketing challenge right now, you've got to ask the hard questions and you need answers. Are you using the right mix of channels to get in front of your future students? Is your messaging personalized and delivered in a medium your audience and future students will respond to? And are you spending more time building reporting than listening in on what your students really want? All of these questions will get answered when you sign up for your free consultation with MDT Marketing. Head to mdtmarketing.com/edup, submit your information, and talk to MDT. Don't go it alone. Find the right partner. The guys at MDT, the team at MDT is absolutely amazing. Whether your challenge is the cost of inquiries, your branding, the bad and incomplete information that come with your inquiries, whatever it is, an audit of your challenges will help your institution, and it's free. mdtmarketing.com/edup. Which is an incredible way to learn, right? Embedded learning, where you're going somewhere and you're hands-on in the culture, learning. There's no more of a rich way to learn. I mean, do you find that the students are coming out of this experience completely transformed as people?
Yeah, transformed is it, isn't it? That's the word we hear repeatedly by our alums. If we can just talk about study abroad and then talk about semester at sea. So I studied abroad as an undergrad. I was a Pell Grant access-based student, barely could scrape it together. I was able to do it my junior year, fall semester, and I know how critical that was to my life. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the research that's taken place, study abroad has a tremendous impact on graduation rates and retention rates. The University of Georgia conducted a survey. They found that there was an 18% increase in four-year graduation rates versus for those who've studied abroad versus those that hadn't. And the impact was even greater on underrepresented groups, as high as over 30% higher four-year graduation rates. And then University of Minnesota has done a study on those who studied abroad, and similarly, 85% of those who studied abroad graduated in 5 years compared to 50% who did not. So study abroad in and of itself has a tremendous impact on what people end up doing in college. And particular to semester at sea, I'll share a couple of different ways to frame it. Number one, yes, transformational experience, the best experience of their college, and oftentimes the best experience aside from their marriage, the birth of their children, and so forth, the best experience of their life. I recently met with an alum who sailed in spring of 1970. Wow. He regaled me for 2 hours about stories from his experience. That's just one example, right? I also met with an alum who's much younger, sailed about 15 years ago. She was nervous about going. She didn't know anybody. She gets on the ship, has the most incredible experience. She ends up working for the Gates Foundation and says that the reason she works for the Gates Foundation is what she saw and what she experienced and what she learned on semester at sea. She wants to be showing up in an organization that's committed to solving huge problems in the world. So those are some examples of what people speak of in terms of the impact of this experience.
So do the students have the ability to do, like, I guess if you go on a cruise, right, you're doing excursions, right? Is it the same kind of deal where you can do, I don't know, field trips might be the wrong way to say it, but field programs, environmental, visit the land, visit the local culture, where it's not just a, hey, let's get off the ship and go sightsee. It's, we're going to this monument, we're going to study, 16th century art or whatever. Is it all targeted for learning experience?
So really appropriate question here. So we are absolutely committed to learning and education. So it's not just excursions. We don't even use that term. There's 3 ways people experience in country. One is what we call a field class. A field class is an embedded part of the course. So one day in one port for one class, one course is a field class, and that's where a philosophy, an anthropology, a marketing, a history professor takes students for a deep experience in this country. That's the field class. Second, we do what are called field programs. And those are working, we design those in partnership with the same type of organizations that work with cruise ships. But they work with us because they know we're doing something quite different. It is about the learning experience. It's a 1-day, 2-day, or 3-day field program in country. It includes homestays, cooking classes, going in, doing environmental conservation work. So it's that whole variety. And the third option, just as you suggested, is there are definitely times where they do their independent travel. They get a group of students, they design their own experience, and then they come back to the ship. So that's the multifaceted way students can experience each country.
I'm really curious to know if you had anyone, given our work from home situations, find you guys and go, can I work from there? Can I join this program? Do you have Wi-Fi? Can I come for a semester at sea? Because I'm thinking about it right now, to be honest with you.
Yes, I mean, wouldn't that be cool? We've played with the idea. I tell you, our biggest constraint is the internet. So,
of course,
you clearly need direct connectivity and stable connectivity as a podcaster. We're experiencing it now. Hopefully,
I don't really care about the podcast. I don't care about the podcast. I just want to get on the ship.
Okay. So there is internet access. Imagine a satellite that's positioned on a ship, and that ship is moving, and it also goes side to side a little bit and front to back a little bit. That satellite on the ship has to connect to the satellite in the sky on a steady basis in order to have steady, stable internet. And any vessel that's moving in the ocean simply can't achieve that. And so we don't have amazing bandwidth. There's no ability to stream, for example, unless you shut down everybody's else access and you get a good connection and you say, okay, it's time for the NCAA National Football Championship, or we're going to try to stream it.
Right. It's interesting. And yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a challenge, but you know what? I think if you're a student, do you guys, now, do you time it to where the itinerary where, during the day when classes need to stream or students need access to the internet, you're closer to land than you are out in the middle of the sea? Are you traveling at nighttime from destination to destination?
No, we travel 5, 6, 7 days between countries. So these countries are somewhat distant from each other, and classes are held during that time, as well as other community-based activities. And so again, nothing is cloud-based on the ship. We have an intranet system,
right,
and an LMS, basically, a learning management system. So all the course materials sit on that LMS within the intranet, and students have access to that, as well as an internal email system and so forth. So there is definitely an important technology piece. It just can't be cloud-based because there's a lack of dependability.
So if I'm a university and I want to partner with you, can I do that? Is there a way for me to say, hey, look, I want to send some students over here to semester at sea, maybe a group of 10 or a group of 50 or whatever, because I want them to experience this, and so I'm going to pay for it, or we're going to co-pay for it, subsidize it in some way. But these are students that are just going to literally be the global leaders of tomorrow, so I want them to have this experience.
So in the basic terms, absolutely. In fact, we have a lot of affiliation agreements with universities. They're amazing partners. So that's just the simple high-level view of it. And what that affiliation basically says is that we, as a university, approve our students to go on semester at sea, and will ensure that the Colorado State University credits transcript back, and the student, once returning from their voyage, can continue in their program. So that's the essence of the affiliation partnership. And we have many of those, always interested in finding other partners like that. Again, these are Colorado State University courses. These are
right.
accredited institution. So they will bring back credits that are approved through faculty governance. And so that's the first part. And I will tell you that one of my prior lives, I was in budgeting and within a university. And when you talk about allocating resources, I do deeply understand the constraints within the system for funding something like study abroad.
Right.
But if you go back to the data I shared earlier around graduation rates and retention rates, it actually, in the end, budgetarily would be smart for universities to provide some level of funding to support people, their students, to study abroad. It would pay off because your your retention rates and your graduation rates will go up, and therefore you're earning tuition for a longer period of time from more people. Again, I understand how difficult that is to model within university budget systems, but that is the truth. And we have not necessarily formed a partnership on that basis that they should ensure that they throw in money as well. But I do think that that is something that universities should give serious consideration, not just for semester C. I'm an advocate for study abroad overall. I think that they should explore this as a grant system for students to choose any study abroad program. At a minimum level, they will see the returns in terms of the growth of that student and, yes, in terms of the bottom line.
I love your commitment to sustainability, onboard sustainability, sustainability on land, having opportunities for an understanding of global sustainability. Not only is that important as a student to understand the work that you do and how that affects, and these are our future leaders. So in sustainability, I think in college programs as a field of study, as a newer field of study, compared to English, as an example. So students are more interested in sustainability for their future, what it means, how they can participate. Talk about your opportunity for learning, being a part of, and affecting sustainability.
Absolutely. This is deep in my heart and, of course, in front of my mind in terms of what we need to ensure everybody's aware of and thinking about. I'll give you a couple examples. So first of all, we have a core required course. All students take it. It's called Global Studies. That course has 3 core themes. One is intercultural communication. One is port country discovery, really about the political and economic systems and cultural systems that they're going to visit in these countries. And the third one is oceans and sustainability. Each of these are given equal play within that global studies course. So as they're going along the ocean, they're thinking about the marine environment and how critical it is to the overall health and welfare of the earth and those who inhabit it. And in what better opportunity to really think about the ocean as the lifeblood and lung of the world than when you're on it. So they're learning about that as we travel. And there's nothing personally as impactful, I can tell you, than going into a port and seeing pollution pouring out into the marine environment.
Oh, that's horrible.
Deeply impactful. You see dolphins swimming in garbage, and that impacts every student who sees it and understands it. That's a unique view that we don't get in our day-to-day life. And then they go into the country and they realize recycling is hard and it doesn't exist everywhere. And there's garbage everywhere. And this beach has plastic everywhere and it's not even from that country. How do we begin to play a part in solving this? And to your point about our own programming country, we have many field programs that attend to environmental conservation. We've done beach cleanups. We've done a variety of mangrove planting and so forth that allow people to really connect what they're learning to hands-on action.
That's incredible. Even the way you talk about it, it kind of feels like that moment where dolphins swimming in garbage. It kind of gives you that icky feeling. And I think in the States sometimes, depending on where you live, you don't see it, you hear about it, you read about it, and it's probably a whole nother. I will tell you, I've not, my closest experience to that is I remember my wife and I went on honeymoon in Dominican Republic, and we were driving to the beach, and there were just piles. I mean, mounds of plastic bottles. There's mounds. I couldn't believe how many piles of plastic bottles. And I'm going, oh yeah, how do they get them off the island? That they don't. They just literally pile them into the woods, and you just wonder how long that can last, right? And where they end up, and who's, it's sad to think about that. But I'm glad that we have a generation of students that are thinking about taking a more active role. And I think that what I want to ask you are two final questions that we ask every guest. And by the way, you've done a great job explaining Semester at Sea. It makes me want to go right away to your website and sign up.
Please do.
The last two questions. Number one, what did we not talk about regarding Semester at Sea that you were hoping to say today, but I didn't give you a chance because my questions were horrible and I just didn't get it right? And number two, and this gets the thinking button that I'm about to press. What do you feel the future of higher education is going to look like?
Okay.
Like that setup right there?
That's a great setup. It's
getting better with my audio interface, by the way.
Yeah. So I would say in terms of Semester at Sea, I would just want to add that something that people don't really think about, but I think about often, is what actually happens to people through this experience and through their lifetime as a consequence of that experience. Three things I want to emphasize. One, lifelong friends. Over and over and over again, we visit and hear stories from alumni about they met their spouse there. They had a bunch of colleagues from Semester at Sea voyage at their wedding. They're now work colleagues. They got hired by a colleague, or they hired one. That this becomes a community that lasts far beyond the voyage. And that is real power. If that can happen, it's just incredible. That's part of the transformation that occurs. Second, I would say this is the prime time in a young adult's life, 17 to 23, to take a risk, to step out of the comfort zone. And it could be Semester at Sea or another study abroad, push their limits. This is the time to take that courageous step, to have the wow and wonder that occurs when you step into countries and challenge the way you think and open up your mind, that just simply cannot happen within the four walls of a classroom. And the last thing I would share with you is we will always be committed to the learning and the safety of our students. But our third commitment is to making it a wonderful adventure, right? That this shipboard community—
Gotta have some fun. Gotta have fun.
Yeah, have some fun, exactly. Bring along some sound effects. Have a recorded cheering crowd, whatever it takes. Have a good time. There's a talent show on the ship. There's a Sea Olympics on the ship. There's all kinds of these events that make it so much fun. And I don't want to go, health and safety, number one, education is what we're about, but there is so much fun to be had. We had a blast when my family and I went, and they always just come smiling off that ship when they're done.
That's incredible. And do you want to address the future of higher ed? Do you think you nailed it, or you want to go any deeper?
Oh, I think the future of higher ed is a much bigger question. And let me just offer a scenario that I think we could move towards that would be so rich and incredible, and technologically it's possible. You are an expert in higher ed. You clearly understand the concept of a flipped classroom and the role technology and instructional design plays in that. But imagine a flipped classroom that's global in nature. And no matter where you are, no matter what time zone you are, you're getting the content through the technology delivery. And then you do come together as a multicultural, multinational group to have conversation facilitated by the instructor. And you also know on occasion, you will meet in person to more deeply explore that in 2 or 3 countries. So imagine a program that fully embraces technology, access, and global connectedness. That is possible. And if someone really lives into that, they will have a model that is robust financially, is exponentially advanced in terms of its educational value, and truly is in service to the world in important ways.
It's also, in my opinion, and I'm sure you agree, Scott, fundable. If I'm looking to make an impact as a funder, as a philanthropist, I can send a group of global leaders through an educational model like that and know my return is global. And that's what I'm after as a person who's donating money, right?
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yep.
All right, ladies and gents, he is Scott Marshall. He's amazing. And he's the president and CEO of Semester at Sea. I ask you guys to check them out, semesteratsea.org. The website's great. It tells a great story. You can literally see the learning happen, the students happy. That's what it's all about. Global impact. Great job, Scott. And thanks for coming on the EdUp Experience. Are you using the right mix of channels to get in front of your audience? Is your messaging personalized and delivered in a medium your audience responds to? Are you spending more time building reports than listening in on what your audience wants? These are not easy questions to answer. That's why our great friends at MDT Marketing are offering a free audit of your marketing efforts. Head to www.mdtmarketing.com/edup and submit your information for your free consultation today. Look, guys, you got nothing to lose. It's free. I don't know why you wouldn't want a free audit to tell you what you're doing, whether it's effective, and how you can make some incremental changes that can make a big difference moving forward. That's www.mdtmarketing.com/edup.